All right, let's talk about Elysium Fine Dining. You know the type, right? Tucked away on a prestigious street. The kind of place that whispers luxury before you even open the door. Inside, it's all about that curated ambiance, soft lighting, crystal glasses clinking just so, polite murmurs filling the air. It promises an exquisite culinary journey. And judging by the clientele I usually see flocking there, it delivers, or so I thought. But my recent visit, well, it painted a different picture. A harmony, perhaps, but with a subtle, jarring discord right from the start. I arrived on a fairly typical evening, not a special occasion, just a regular weekday. Though even a regular evening at Elysium feels like an event, I purposely chose to dress simply. No bespoke suits, no flashy watches, just regular, unassuming clothes. And yes, I was leaning heavily on crutches. Now, this wasn't for show in the traditional sense, but for a very specific kind of observation. My movements were slow, deliberate, each step a visible sign of physical struggle. My face, I imagine, carried a quiet fatigue, the kind that might make you think I was just looking for a moment's peace and some sustenance after a long, arduous day. This was the persona of Ethan Tran I presented, stepping into that lavish lobby. It's pristine, almost intimidating, the kind of place where you feel like you should dust off your shoes before touching the marble floor. I approached the polished reception desk. Standing there was a young hostess, all practiced smiles and saccharine charm, flanked by the maitre d', a woman I recognized as Angela. Her eyes, sharp and perpetually assessing, missed nothing, or so I thought. They looked at me, their smiles, initially polite, faltered, not a lot. Mind you, just a tiny flicker, but enough for someone who pays attention to details. It was quickly replaced by something else, a hint of annoyance, perhaps impatience. "Good evening, sir." "Do you have a reservation?" the hostess asked. Her voice was polite enough. Yes, but her eyes were already conveying a dismissal. She didn't even bother to fully engage. I gave my name. "Ethan Tran?" She scrolled through her tablet. Just a quick glance, then looked up. Her expression, already cool, hardened. "I apologize, sir, but it seems we are fully booked tonight," she stated, her words swift, decisive. "We have no available tables." Now, this is where it gets interesting, because even from my vantage point, leaning on those crutches, I could clearly see my name, Ethan Tran, displayed on the reservation list on her screen. My booking for 7 p.m. was right there, no ambiguity. So, I pushed back, gently, calmly. "Could you please check again?" I requested, my voice level, but with an underlying hint of persistent logic. "I believe I have a reservation under Ethan Tran for 7 p.m. That's when Angela, the maitre d', stepped forward, and she's got this elegant posture, radiating an air of untouchable authority, her smile completely gone, replaced by this cool, unyielding expression. "Sir," she began, her voice crisp, professional, yet utterly devoid of warmth. "I assure you, our system is accurate. As I said, we are fully booked. And frankly," she added, her voice dropping slightly, laced with an undeniable edge of dismissal, a subtle, almost imperceptible sneer, "we can't accommodate special cases today. Our priority is to ensure the comfort of all our guests. And sometimes," she trailed off, letting the unspoken implication hang in the air like a noxious vapor. The implication was clear: your presence, with those crutches, would disrupt that comfort. You are a problem, a complication, and we don't do complications here. It was a masterclass in polite rejection, delivered with an arrogance so ingrained it felt effortless. The hostess beside her seemed to subtly nod in agreement, reinforcing the unspoken judgment. I noticed a few other staff members nearby, catching glimpses of the interaction, their expressions mirroring the maitre d's disdain. There was no apology for the inconvenience, no offer to assist with future bookings, no suggestion of an alternative, just a firm, cold rejection. I didn't argue. I didn't raise my voice. There was no outward display of frustration, no anger, not even a hint of disappointment. I simply offered a quiet nod, a subtle acknowledgement of their rejection. It wasn't acceptance, though it was recognition. Recognition of their policy, their attitude, and their immediate judgment. Then, I turned slowly, my crutches scraping faintly on the polished marble floor. Each small sound a stark reminder of the physical persona I embodied. I made my way out of the restaurant, quietly, unhurriedly. My back was straight, my movements deliberate. But as I exited, and I caught a final glimpse in the reflection of the glass doors, my own eyes, they were calm, yes, but also cold and profoundly deep. They held a silent intensity that, to anyone paying real attention, would have signaled that something far larger was about to unfold. This wasn't just a rejected dinner. This was a prelude, a test, and Elysium Fine Dining had just failed its first, unannounced, and perhaps most crucial, examination. Ethan's exit from Elysium Fine Dining was silent, but his mind was anything but. As he navigated the busy sidewalk outside, each painful step on his crutches was a stark reminder of another, deeper pain. This wasn't merely a personal slight. It was a ghost from a very recent past, a memory that had festered and finally compelled him to stage this elaborate, painful charade just 1 month prior. Ethan's closest friend, Marcus, had been treated with similar disdain at this very restaurant. Marcus was a vibrant, quick-witted artist, a man whose spirit soared despite being confined to a wheelchair after a debilitating accident years ago. They had planned a celebratory dinner, a rare indulgence for Marcus, at Elysium, a place he had always admired. Ethan remembered the raw excitement in Marcus's eyes as they approached the restaurant that evening, but that excitement had quickly turned to quiet despair. Ethan recalled the almost identical scene Marcus, attempting to navigate the slightly awkward entrance in his wheelchair, only to be met by a cold, disapproving stare from the very same maitre d'. Angela, the hostess, had been curt, explaining that while they had a reservation, the restaurant was not adequately equipped for wheelchairs, or that all accessible tables were coincidentally occupied. The excuses had piled up, thinly veiled rejections that left no doubt about the true reason. Marcus, a man of immense dignity, didn't make a scene. He simply turned his wheelchair, a sad, knowing smile playing on his lips. "It's all right, Ethan," Marcus had said, his voice quiet, almost resigned. "Some places aren't built for people like me. I guess the food isn't that good anyway." The memory of Marcus' sad smile, his quiet acceptance of such blatant discrimination, had burned a hole in Ethan's soul. Ethan was no ordinary man. Unknown to the staff of Elysium, he was Ethan Tran, a renowned food critic, a titan in the culinary world. His unfiltered, incisive reviews held immense power, capable of elevating obscure eateries to Michelin star status, or, conversely, sinking established empires. His blog, The unfiltered palate boasted over 1 million loyal followers who trusted his honest, often brutal, assessments. He championed authenticity, integrity, and, above all, the human element of dining. After Marcus's painful experience, Ethan had made a decision. He wouldn't just write a scathing review based on hearsay. He would test Elysium himself, under the exact same conditions, to experience their hospitality firsthand. He decided to put himself in a position of perceived vulnerability, a silent protest, a visceral reenactment of his friend's pain. He meticulously planned his visit. He carefully selected a set of old crutches, practiced walking with a convincing limp, and chose unassuming, slightly worn clothes that would scream unimportant. He even booked the reservation under his real name, Ethan Tran. Knowing that Elysium, with its high-profile clientele, likely wouldn't connect the name to the unassuming figure on crutches, his true identity, his formidable reputation, would be meticulously concealed. A weapon held in reserve. He wanted to see if their disdain was reserved only for those truly in need of accommodation, or for anyone who simply didn't fit their narrow, elitist mold. This wasn't just a review. It was a personal mission for justice, a quiet act of solidarity with his friend, and a test of character for a restaurant that claimed to be the epitome of fine dining. Ethan arrived back at his discreet downtown apartment, the lingering phantom ache from his performance still clinging to his muscles. He carefully leaned the crutches against the wall by the entrance, shedding the physical persona he had meticulously crafted. The simple, worn clothes he'd chosen for his disguise were peeled off, exchanged for a crisp, comfortable shirt and soft, well-fitting trousers. This was his true uniform, his natural state. The apartment, though far from ostentatious, was a haven of understated functionality, a stark contrast to the opulence of Elysium. There was no clutter, no unnecessary frills, just a sleek, minimalist desk dominated by a large, high-resolution monitor and a powerful workstation. This was his sanctuary, his command center, the quiet engine room of the unfiltered palate. He sat down, his fingers hovering over the keyboard, a familiar ritual about to begin. The silence in the room was absolute, broken only by the soft hum of his computers. He opened his specialized review software, then created a new file. The title he typed was simple, yet laden with implication. A promise to his loyal readership, my review experience unfiltered. He began to write, the words flowing effortlessly, a torrent of observations fueled by the fresh sting of the recent encounter. He recounted every single detail, leaving nothing out, meticulously reconstructing the scene with the precision of a forensic analyst. He described the precise moment he entered Elysium, the way the soft, ambient light glinted off the polished marble, the specific jazz music that tried so hard to mask the coldness in the air. He meticulously detailed the fleeting look of annoyance on the hostess's face, the swift, dismissive shake of her head. He transcribed Angela, the maitre d's, exact words, emphasizing the chilling tone, the casual cruelty embedded in that infamous phrase, "We can't accommodate special cases today," and he vividly portrayed their averted gazes, their quick dismissal of his polite request to simply check the reservation again, the unspoken judgment in their eyes as he slowly made his way out on crutches, the phantom scrape of the rubber tips on the marble floor echoing in his memory. He described not just the visual and auditory details, but the feeling of being utterly dismissed, of being rendered invisible, an inconvenient obstacle in their meticulously managed world. He allowed the very real, albeit feigned, physical discomfort of his disability to amplify the sharp emotional pain of their blatant rejection. Crucially, he made sure not to mention the restaurant by name. He didn't need to. He knew his audience, his loyal legion of followers. His descriptions were so vivid, his portrayal of the setting so precise, that his dedicated readers, with their keen attention to detail and their shared passion for authentic dining experiences, would recognize it instantly. The distinctive decor, the unique lighting fixtures, the specific phrasing used by the staff, the very layout of the entrance, these were breadcrumbs for a digital detective army. He wrote about the palpable silence he received, the utter lack of empathy, the profound feeling of being summarily dismissed by those whose very profession was service. He didn't explicitly call for a boycott or retribution. His review was a raw, unfiltered narrative of an experience, letting the undeniable truth speak for itself. Confident that his readers would draw their own conclusions and demand their own forms of justice, his voice was calm, analytical, almost detached. Yet the underlying current of outrage was unmistakable. He finished writing, then meticulously edited the piece, ensuring every word carried its intended weight. Every sentence flowed with impactful clarities. He chose a compelling, yet deliberately ambiguous, photo to accompany the review, a close-up shot of his hand resting on the crutch, with the background subtly blurred to reveal just a hint of an opulent, perhaps too perfect, restaurant lobby. It was enough to tease, to provoke curiosity, without explicitly naming his target. Then, with a deep breath and a quiet resolve, at precisely 10:00 p.m., he clicked Publish. The review went live, a digital beacon cast into the vastness of the internet, its signal echoing across servers and networks, reaching millions. The next morning, the digital world was ablaze. Ethan woke to his phone buzzing incessantly, a constant stream of notifications. He didn't even need to check his analytics dashboard. He knew his review, My Review Experience Unfiltered, had gone catastrophically viral. By mid-morning, the numbers were staggering. It had garnered an astonishing 3 million views, a testament to the power of a compelling narrative coupled with a deeply resonant theme. The comment section exploded with 60,000 comments, a veritable torrent of outrage, shared discriminatory experiences from others, and furious calls for justice against the unnamed establishment. The online community, a powerful force of collective intelligence, wasted no time. Within hours, the subtle clues Ethan had embedded, the vivid descriptions, the context of a high-end dining spot in a specific part of town, allowed them to pinpoint the target with unerring accuracy. The name of the restaurant, Elysium Fine Dining, was identified, verified, and spread like wildfire across every social media platform, every food forum, every review aggregator site. Hashtags denouncing discrimination, elitism, and ableism trended globally, quickly overshadowing every other piece of culinary news. Ethan hadn't explicitly revealed his true identity as a food critic in the review itself. He never had to. His millions of followers, his long-standing reputation for integrity, his sharp insights, and his distinctive writing style meant they knew exactly who was behind the unfiltered palate. They knew who Ethan Tran was, and they trusted his word implicitly. The internet had become his ultimate jury, and Elysium Fine Dining was now firmly in the harsh, unforgiving court of public opinion, facing a digital reckoning of epic proportions. The digital storm unleashed by Ethan's review hit Elysium Fine Dining with the force of a tsunami. The restaurant, once an untouchable bastion of culinary excellence, found itself drowning in a relentless tide of negative public opinion. The 3 million views and 60,000 comments were just the beginning. The first immediate and most visible consequence was the avalanche of one-star reviews across every major review platform: Yelp, Google Reviews, TripAdvisor. Elysium's once stellar ratings plummeted. The pristine 5-star average crashed, replaced by a devastating deluge of single-star condemnations. These weren't just angry rants, they were often eloquent, deeply personal accounts of similar discriminatory experiences, or simply expressions of outrage from a public that felt a deep connection to Ethan's unfiltered narrative. The sheer volume of negative feedback was unprecedented, an undeniable testament to the power of a unified online community. Following the public outcry, the direct impact on Elysium's business was immediate and catastrophic. The phones, once ringing off the hook with reservation requests, fell eerily silent. Then, they began ringing again. But this time, it was a different kind of call: VIP clients. Once the restaurant's bread and butter, were canceling their reservations en masse, and celebrities, influential food bloggers, and high-net-worth individuals, all acutely aware of their public image, swiftly distanced themselves from the burgeoning scandal. Elysium's reservation book, once a testament to its exclusivity, became a barren wasteland of crossed-out names. The media, always ravenous for a scandal, quickly picked up on the story. Local news channels began running segments on Elysium's discrimination controversy. National culinary websites and magazines, eager to cover the fall of a titan, started making inquiries, demanding statements, and dissecting Ethan's review word by word. The restaurant, accustomed to glowing reviews and fawning profiles, now found itself under a harsh, unforgiving spotlight, facing a public relations nightmare of epic proportions. Internally, chaos erupted. Angela, the maitre d' who had so dismissively turned Ethan away, found herself at the epicenter of the storm, and within hours of the review going viral, she was placed on immediate suspension by the restaurant's ownership. The hostess who had first encountered Ethan was also summoned by the parent company, facing a grim internal investigation into her conduct. The comfortable bubble of self-importance that had protected them for so long had burst, exposing them to direct, personal accountability. Then, to add fuel to the already raging fire, a crucial piece of evidence leaked to the public: a grainy but damning segment of CCTV footage. The video, seemingly from the lobby's security camera, clearly showed Ethan, leaning on his crutches, patiently waiting. It showed the hostess looking at her tablet, then curtly dismissing him. It showed Angela stepping forward, her body language dismissive, her mouth moving in the exact words Ethan had quoted, before he quietly turned and left. The footage explicitly revealed that Ethan's name was indeed visible on the reservation list on the tablet screen when he was being turned away for being fully booked. This irrefutable visual proof extinguished any lingering doubt, validating Ethan's account and intensifying the public's fury. The digital mob, now armed with undeniable evidence, doubled down on its condemnation, demanding swift and harsh justice. As the situation spiraled irrevocably out of control, the restaurant's main general manager, a man named Mr. Davies, who had been blindsided by the entire ordeal, urgently called Ethan. His voice, usually composed and authoritative, was now laced with desperation and thinly veiled panic. He offered profuse apologies, desperately attempting to explain the misunderstanding and pleading for the matter to be handled internally. He offered to send a chef to Ethan's home, to arrange a private, complimentary dinner, anything to stem the bleeding. Ethan, however, remained unyielding. He listened politely to Mr. Davies's panicked pleas, but he refused to comment directly on the matter. The time for private resolution had passed. The issue was no longer just about his dinner, or even Marcus's. It was about a systemic lack of respect, a pervasive culture of judgment based on superficiality. Instead of a verbal response, Ethan sent Mr. Davies a single, poignant attachment. It was an old photograph, not a professional headshot, nor a picture of a Michelin-starred dish. It was a faded, heartfelt snapshot Ethan and Marcus, both much younger, sitting side by side at a worn, simple wooden table in a brightly lit, unpretentious diner. Both men were laughing, their faces radiant with genuine joy, their arms casually slung over each other's shoulders. The caption, if there had been one, would have read, "A place where we were served as human beings." It was a powerful, silent counter-narrative to Elysium's elitist fad, a reminder of what true hospitality and true value looked like, a place where they were treated as valued individuals, not special cases to be turned away. A week after the digital firestorm and the ensuing chaos, the dust began to settle, but the lessons lingered. Sharp and undeniable, Ethan wasn't finished. He knew that public shaming, while effective in the short term, rarely cemented true change without a final, guiding message. He returned to his keyboard, not to condemn further, but to offer a path forward. He published his final piece on The Unfiltered Palate, a concluding thought to the Elysium saga. His article wasn't a call for continued boycotts or the restaurant's ruin. Instead, it was a poignant reminder of human dignity and fundamental kindness. He wrote, "You never know who you're turning away or who they're standing up for." The words resonated across the digital landscape. A simple yet profound truth. It was a call for introspection, urging people to look beyond the surface, to consider the invisible battles others might be fighting, or the quiet power they might wield. The article didn't incite more fury, it fostered reflection, emphasizing that respect should be universal, not conditional on appearance or perceived status. Under immense pressure from public opinion and the very real threat of financial ruin, Elysium, fine dining's ownership, released a public apology. It was a comprehensive statement, acknowledging the systemic failures in their service, specifically citing the incident with Ethan and the prior rejection of Marcus. They committed to a complete overhaul of their customer service policies, including mandatory diversity and inclusion training for all staff, accessibility upgrades to the premises, and a new ethos emphasizing respect for every single patron. Ethan, watching from a distance, saw the genuine effort in their response. It wasn't just lip service, it was a visible commitment to change. And so, a few weeks later, he did something unexpected. He took Marcus back to Elysium Fine Dining. This time, as their taxi pulled up, the entire front-of-house team was waiting. The manager, a different, noticeably more humbled individual, rushed to open Marcus's car door, carefully assisting with the wheelchair. Ethan, still observing from his own side, saw the genuine smiles, the careful attention to accessibility, the eagerness to please that had been so glaringly absent before. They were ushered inside, not to a special case table, but to a prime spot, perfectly accessible, with every comfort anticipated. Throughout the meal, the service was impeccable, attentive, and most importantly, truly respectful. As they prepared to leave, the new manager approached, humbly asking for their feedback. Ethan looked at Marcus, who smiled. A genuine, unburdened smile this time. Ethan then turned to the manager, his gaze calm. "Thank you," Ethan said, his voice quiet, clear, and without a hint of malice. "The service tonight was indeed impeccable, but we've already had better service. From strangers who had no idea who we were." With that, Ethan and Marcus rose, leaving behind a moment of silent understanding. They didn't need revenge. They didn't need to gloat. They had simply left behind a powerful, indelible lesson that Elysium fine dining, and hopefully the wider community, would never forget. It was a testament that not everyone on crutches needs pity, but everyone, without exception, deserves respect. And sometimes, the most profound changes begin with the quiet courage of one man standing up for another.